There we are, live on YouTube. Susan Michel, Myrna Skoller, this mic is all yours.
Hi, this is Susan Michel. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. Believe it or not, it's almost 80 degrees outside. 3 weeks ago, it was 0, and now it's up to 80. So it is a lovely day. And I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study, to learn, to embody the knowledge of. And my good friend and soul sister is here with me from Boca Raton, Florida. Myrna Skoller is the author of Private Lessons with Jesus, along with quite a few other books. Private Lessons with Jesus is a wonderful complement to A Course in Miracles workbook for students. How are you today, Myrna?
Very well. Temperature here is also wonderful and very different from what we were experiencing 3 weeks ago. So I figure in Florida, and I love using the pool, I really do. But I know there are 2 months that are out, and that's January and February. So for those 2 months, I don't really get the exercise from the pool that I like to. But now I'm back in it, and today it was 90 degrees in the pool. So you think that sounds very warm, overly warm, but it really isn't. It's lukewarm. It's 90 degrees. So it was delightful, really. So I'm very happy to be jumping in again and enjoying the nice weather, just like you are.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. Pretty soon I'll be able to run outside again. The temperature just changed so drastically. I mean, a couple of weeks ago we were having a snowstorm, so I went to the reservoir that I like to run outside on yesterday, and there was still snow on the ground, so I could not run. So I'm gonna try again tomorrow and see if this warm weather melts the snow and melts the ice because I love to run outside. And Anyway, I will start with the introduction of my book, as I like to do. If anyone else here in the chat room has any thoughts on any subjects that we're talking about, please feel free to share, to raise your hand, to chat in the chat room. I'd love to hear thoughts from anyone else that is here. And in my book, what I write in my introduction is my passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real. This is my message. It can be clarified with 3 simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. There is nothing to find in the world because there is no world. The external world that we experience is nothing more than a reflection of an internal condition. You know, we were created to be a conduit for God's divine love. We were created to extend God's love to our brother. And that is really where our peace, love, joy, and happiness lies. I love today's workbook lesson. Today's workbook lesson states, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. So at each and every moment, we have a choice. We can focus on the fact that we have everything that we could possibly need or want within us. A Course in Miracles tells us that God created us with everything that we could possibly want within us when we were born, so we can focus on the truth of who we are Or when we start complaining, when we start going into thoughts of victimization, when we start harping on what's wrong with other people, what's wrong with the world, these are called grievances. And whenever we focus upon our grievances, we hide the light of the world. We hide God's wisdom from us. We block God's guidance when we focus upon our grievances. When we focus on grievances, that is giving allegiance to the ego. It's blocking God's love with dark clouds. And so many of us do that. I do that. I do that many times. And I meditated this morning. I don't meditate every morning anymore, but I did meditate this morning, and I focused upon the light, and I understand when I hold on to unforgiveness towards anyone, I'm not hurting that other person. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm hurting myself. I'm blocking God's wisdom from my own mind. So it's I think a lot of what A Course in Miracles is teaching us is self-discipline, focus on the love, focus on the light. If we feel a grievance, if we feel a complaint coming into our minds, like we all do, this is a classroom. We're here to learn, we're here to grow. This is an earthly classroom that we're living in. So whenever we hear a complaint or a resentment or a grievance or a thought of unforgiveness come into our mind, what we need to do is we need to Course in Miracles is teaching us to release that thought, because holding on to grievances does not hurt the person we're attacking in our mind. Holding on to grievances hurts ourselves. It blocks God's wisdom from our thought. Like, I know when my mind is at peace, I feel serene, I feel blissful, I feel light. And I did attain that peaceful place in my meditation this morning. I just focused on forgiving everyone. I focused on embodying my own innocence. I focused on holding the hand of Jesus and allowing him to help me, to support me, to guide me in this world. But we all have a choice. Intellectually, I'm very aware that the only thing that's real is the love, and love is the only thing that will ever make me happy. And holding any kind of grievance or resentment is never going to bring peace to my mind. But it's still a challenge, because there's so much diversity, there's so much animosity, there's so much just drama in the world. So I am grateful when I have those moments of peace, love, joy, and happiness, and I allow God's wisdom to enter my mind, and I allow myself to love. Right, Myrna?
Absolutely. Today's lesson is perfect. Um, I had experienced something that kind of made me laugh. I like to share it. I live in a gated community, Boca Point, and when you're living in these types of communities in Florida, you're kind of at the beck and call of the management companies that sort of make demands that sometimes don't seem really very realistic. So I got a letter saying that certain bushes around the house and tree needs to be trimmed. Okay, they send me a little postage size, a little tiny stamp size of a picture of the bush. Okay, well, I didn't really know what it meant, but okay, I had my gardener trim it, clean it up. I get a second letter with the same complaint. Okay, I don't know what they're talking about, make sure that it's fine, make sure that everything is perfectly manicured. Anyway, I get the third letter. Okay, So this time I'm thinking, okay, this is enough. I've had it. I'm going to compose a letter telling them that this is bordering on harassment and I could sue them for harassment. And I'm really thinking on and on and on how I'm going to go to the post office, I'm going to send the letter registered mail and so forth. But then I noticed too in the letter I'm sorry, a response. I can respond by email, an email address. That's what, it showed. I go, okay. So I write a letter. The problem has been solved. My bushes have been manicured to I believe the liking of the management company. I think that the problem has been resolved because whatever it is, I wrote a short note indicating that everything they asked for has been completed. I get an email back saying thank you very much for your letter. This grievance has been resolved, has been closed. Well, anyway, my point really is that I really was going through all kinds of grievances, okay, which was hiding the light in the world in me, as this lesson really so clearly states. And here I took the easy way out. All I had to do was just kind of take a look, read the letter, respond to the email, and tell them that I took care of the problem. And I got a quick response. I'm thinking that was so easy. I could have really gone to the extent where I'm going to fight them. I'm going to get so angry and really riled up when it really I became aware of the fact that there was no reason to um, become bent out of shape when it's so much easier to take care of it another way. And some of the, everything is a lesson or a blessing, we say. In some respect, this was a lesson, okay, because it taught me that there's no reason to hide my grievances, or when I say hide the grievances, I'm not hiding the grievances, but my grievances really are hiding the light of the world in me. Like the lesson says, lesson 69 says, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. So this lesson teaches me that holding on to grievances or resentments covers up the inner light and peace that exists within me and exists within every person. And we're really encouraged to recognize how negative thoughts and judgments block our awareness of their true nature. In other words, we're blocking our true nature, which is to be the conduit for peace, and to recognize that when we're not feeling peace, then we need to let go of the grievances that are keeping us from our peace, and allows the light within us to shine, because we're all equipped with this light. The lesson tells us that we are, the title itself, my grievances hide the light of the world in me. So if that's the case, then there must be light in me. The light of the world is already in me. I'm just hiding it. So when we become aware of that, then I think we become aware also of the importance of this kind of, recognition of the ego's limitations, which keeps us from really going beyond what's really important, and it keeps us from recognizing the greater inner freedom that we all possess, that we possess within ourselves. And so I thought that was very interesting. So, and as you said, the thoughts of victimization hide God's wisdom. I like that thought that you presented it that way, Susan.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you, Myrna. And I like that example. I know so many of us get triggers on a fairly consistent basis. I know I do. And I can see how easy it would be to get triggered by a letter like that from the management company. I'm sure most of us would be triggered. but you handled it very well, and it turned into a lesson. I mean, anytime we do get triggered by outside circumstances or other people, we have a choice. And it happens all the time. There was this little example that I thought of that happened to me when I was on the plane. You know, this was the trip that everyone, I think, was on edge because the plane was running late, and when I was flying to the Dominican Republic, and a lot of people were missing their connections, so there was tension in the air. And I was sitting in the middle. I had my husband on one side, and I had this woman that I did not know on the other side. And when she sat down beside me, you know, I was friendly and I said, hi, you know, with a big smile. And she just, hi. She didn't smile at all. She was a little curt, and I was aware of that. But I did my best not to take her curt demeanor personally. And then I took out a nail file about half an hour later, and I started filing my nails because I needed to file my nail. And I did my nails, and I held my hand away from her, you know, closer to my husband. And she looks over and gruffly says, "Can't you do that later?" You know, not not even in a nice way, not please, you know, just, "Can't you do that later?" You know, in a huffy voice. And again, I was triggered. So my first you know, I realized I could react and I could defend myself and I could attack back. And actually, the first word I said was why. That's actually exactly what I said. Why? Like, how is me filing my nails affecting you, is what I was thinking. So I said, why? And she doesn't answer that. And then, you know, I calmed down a little bit and I said, okay, I'm sorry. And I put my nail file away and I said, I'll do it later. And I don't know who was right and who was wrong, but all I know is to shift from a place of defensiveness, which A Course in Miracles clearly states is when we defend our position, we're going into fear. So to shift my mind from a place of fear to a place of love brought peace to my mind. And we did not talk throughout the whole trip. At the end of the trip, I was doing some planning to try to catch the next leg of the trip, and me and this lady started talking back and forth, and we, you know, started acting very nice to each other. So there was healing between us. I mean, so many times in life, it's not the words that you say, it's the state of mind that you embrace that is the most important thing. I mean, when we come from a place of fear, even if the words are articulate, nice, even if the words seem to make sense, when we're coming from a place of fear, people can sense that, you know, they can sense our energy. And a lot of times they reflect that fear back to us. And then the opposite is also true. Even if our words are not perfect and we're connecting to the energy of love, people can sense that also. So I think so many times in life, triggers do occur, just like what happened to you in the management company, just what happened to me and the lady from the plane. I mean, we get triggered all the time. And whenever we can choose to respond from a place of love instead of react from a place of fear, we will be happy. This is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. Everything in life is a lesson or a blessing, and so many times the lessons make more of an impact on our lives than the blessings. The lessons turn into blessings. So I'm very grateful when I am able to really not take things personally. That's what A Course in Miracles teaches. That's what the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz teaches. You know, don't take this world personally. And whenever we can respond from a place of compassion and love, we can stay plugged into our God socket, stay connected to source energy, keep our peace of mind. So, any thoughts, Myrna?
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot because, first of all, my first thought is I would never think of saying to someone else, can't you do that later? I mean, I'm so glad it's not in me. It's not in my reality to ever say that to anybody. Okay. So, then you have to kind of will take it a step further. Well, so, an attack really from someone else is not to retaliate or defend yourself, which is what you did not do, which is great, by kind of recognizing that's where she's at and that you send a love, however you were able to sort of come to a place of peace, which is really hard because in a way, that can very well have been perceived as an attack, which it probably was really. But like the Course in Miracles says, that we have to recognize that the attack really is a call for help. And if we can really bear that in mind and understand that that's really all it is, it's not really a personal thing. She doesn't even know you. So when you can see that it's really that she's in pain, and the Course teaches us that what appears to be aggression is actually an expression of fear and a mistaken belief in separation. So instead of reacting with anger and making it really exacerbating the problem, and we're not really resolving anything, we're really encouraged to respond with understanding and compassion and forgiveness. And if we can keep that in mind all the time, we refuse to reinforce the ego's narrative of conflict and instead affirm our shared innocence because we're all innocent, loving creatures of God. And I think this approach helps us remember our true nature and it invites a healing for both ourselves and the other person. So this might mean pausing before responding, taking your time and pausing rather than to react and silently just asking for guidance from the Holy Spirit. And we'll get it if we do it that way too. And choosing to see the other person's true self beyond the ego's attack, which is all that it was. And that is, I think it took me a lifetime to try and recognize that problem within myself that there would have been a time I would have responded without thinking, okay, and attacked back because that was something that was really nourished in me for so long until I realized that it wasn't a nourishing quality at all. If anything, it was a destructive quality. So it's taken me a very long time to come to that realization. And I think I've come a long way as well. I'm so proud of you, Susan. You really managed to keep that centered self that we're encouraged to do. Yeah.
Thank you, Myrna. Thank you. Yeah, you reminded me of the 4P process that Sherry and I came up with a few years ago. When we get triggered in life, and triggers are just really part of everyone's daily experience. So when we get triggered in life, instead of reacting out of fear, the best thing that we can do for our own peace of mind, the 4 Ps, I could add that to the 4 Ps. 4 Ps for peace. I kind of like that. So the first P is pause, just as you so wisely stated, is a very good thing to do. So the first P is pause. The second P is own the pain. Take responsibility for the pain. Take responsibility for the trigger. What is it within me that has not yet been healed? We are never, ever a victim of circumstances. So own the pain. Say, this trigger in my external world is bringing up something in me that has not yet been healed and released. And then the third P is process the pain. And the fourth P is pray. Give it to God. A Course in Miracles consistently tells us that of ourself, we can do nothing, but with the help of God, with the support of God, there is nothing that we cannot do, and I think when I make that choice to align myself with the mind of Christ, it's a very rewarding, it's a very peaceful place of mind to step into, and it's a very rewarding choice to make. It benefits me because I stay aligned with Christ consciousness, and it benefits my brother because they're calling for my love. When people attack us, that's what they're doing. They're basically projecting fear onto us, and they're crying out for love. So instead of seeing someone's verbal attack as an attack, to see it for what it is, a call for love, that allows us to stay in our right mind and extend God's love to them, which is what they're really asking us for. So the 4 Ps are pause, own the pain, process the pain, pray. And I think that, again, when we can take responsibility for our life, I mean, why am I creating this circumstances? A Course in Miracles is always telling us that we're creating our own life. We are the projector, and we are always creating our own circumstances. So sometimes we create lessons, sometimes we create triggers because there's something in our unconscious mind that has not yet been fully healed. So what these triggers do is they bring our own unhealed pain points to the surface so healing can occur. It is just so important to own the pain and release the need to see ourselves as being victimized by circumstances, because we are never, ever a victim of the world. We're always creating our own circumstances. I love that poem by Araya Mountain Dreamer entitled The Invitation. Owning the pain is part of our healing process. And on the other side of our pain, there's an incredible amount of joy. So the triggers in life, they trigger the pain, so the pain can come to the surface. And when we take responsibility for the pain, instead of blame other people, when we take responsibility for the pain, we can release the pain and get to the other side of the pain, which is all about joy. So this line in Araya Mountain Dreamer's invitation poem states, I want to know if you can sit with pain, yours and mine, without without trying to hide it or fade it or fix it. Just be grateful for our triggers, as Dove so often says, because the triggers are what brings the pain to the surface. And the very next line is, I want to know if you can dance with joy, if you can allow the ecstasy to fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. All that joy is on the other side of the pain, and that's how God wants us to live. God's desire for me is perfect happiness. A Course in Miracles tells us that over and over and over. God's desire for me is perfect happiness. So when we can release those pain points that are repressed in our unconscious mind, we can clear our channel and we can step into the joy that is waiting for us, that is our inheritance, that is our birthright, because we were all meant to live a joyful life, right, Myrna?
Yes, to own the pain, and pain is no fun at all. Really, I mean, nobody wants to be in pain. We try to move away from it, but sometimes we get deeper and deeper into it, not realizing that we're holding on to a grievance. So pain is something that has to be looked at and clarified in within ourselves, and then come to the point where we want to nothing more than to release the pain. I think that's what drew me to the Course in Miracles to begin with, because I was in a lot of pain at that point in my life, and it just didn't seem to be getting any better. And the more I would look at it as other people causing the pain or blaming others, and wasn't helping me in any way, I realized I needed something else. And when I asked God, I realized at that point I did go to God and say, "There's only one way up. I can't go down any further. There's only one way to go at this point, and that's up." And that's when the Course in Miracles was given to me, and uh, it came into my life at such a perfect time, because it was an answer for me. And I think that was the first spiritual teaching that I had ever really gotten so ensconced in and gotten so completely immersed myself into, because I started to see it as it was healing me. Somehow that teaching was healing me, the Course in Miracles, the teaching of A Course in Miracles. But Jesus also states in the Course in Miracles that there are many paths that all lead to the same place. This is just one. And so I think by finding, for me, and you as well, that's how we met, really, through the Course in Miracles. It emphasized, I think, that true love is really to free ourselves from pain, to start to recognize that we're really meant to feel love, not pain. And when we see that, the desire to hold on to past hurts, or past hurts or grievances, doesn't really help the situation. So when we begin to embrace the love, that we let go and we let go of all the pain that's holding on to us, only because if we hold on to the pain, it only strengthens the illusion of separation and keeps us from experiencing true love, true peace. And by releasing the grievance, we align ourselves with our true spiritual nature. And I like this line, just opposite the page, lesson 69. This phrase or this prayer jumped out at me, and it says, "I would see you as my friend, that I would remember you as part of me and come to know myself." So to truly see you as my friend, everyone as my friend, is to recognize that you're not separate from me, but you're an essential part of who I am. So as I remember that you're a part of who I am also reminded of the shared uh, essence that exists in all of us, and that transcends the illusions of separation, which is really created by the ego. So in seeing you with love, my friend, I come to know you more deeply. For then I can acknowledge our connection, and that's opening the way to healing and self awareness. So the practice really does align us with the course's teaching that our relationships really are offering us opportunities to remember our oneness and to experience genuine peace, even those that we're triggered by.
Yes, I love that line. I mean, what we focus upon in our brother exacerbates within our own mind. So, as we choose to focus on the innocence in our brother, we feel the innocence within ourself. As we focus upon the commonality we share with our brother, we feel the love within ourselves. So when we see our brother as guilty, so again, going back to my trigger on the plane, this lady sitting next to me snaps at me to stop filing my nails. Was this rude? Maybe. If I want to focus on the mistake that she made, when I focus on the uh, the nasty nature that she is exhibiting, I feel the guilt within myself. You know, when I can forgive her, I can connect to the love within my own mind. So, again, why do we forgive our brother? Because it feels good. Forgiving our brother is selfless because in a way, our brother picks that up and it benefits our brother. And it's also selfish because it feels good. A Course in Miracles clearly states that the only way to find our way home to heaven is to forgive. So it doesn't matter who made the mistake. It doesn't matter if my brother made the mistake or I made the mistake. The only way to find our way back to heaven, and what is heaven? Heaven is a state of mind of peace, love, joy, and happiness. Heaven is just the truth of who we are. How do we find our way back to heaven? Through forgiveness. So again, I like that line that you read. I would see you as my friend that I may remember you are part of me and come to know myself. Whatever we focus upon within our brother, we feel within our own mind. You know, I mean, A Course in Miracles clearly states that God has but one sun, and we are all part of that sonship. God is the sun. We are all rays of sunshine coming from that sun. God is the ocean. We are all waves coming from that same ocean. So deep within us all, we are the same. And when we can see our brother as our equal, as our friend, you know, whether he is projecting his fear onto us or extending his love to us, no matter where he's coming from, him and I are the same. You know, and I think that for me to recognize that when I have been triggered is extremely healing. You know, A Course in Miracles is saying is when something happens, whoever is in their right mind can bring both people home to God. So if there's some kind of trigger occurring, you know, what I really need to do is recognize that something is happening that is not of God, I think to pray and to give the situation to God can heal what is happening instantaneously. And that is just a beautiful thing. That is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. And again, it's not because we want to score brownie points and be the first one into heaven. The reason that we overlook errors because if we focus on the errors, we are seeing something that is not true. We're not seeing the world clearly when we focus on the fear. But when we can see the love, in spite what is happening, that is when we can maintain our peace of mind, keep ourselves plugged into our God socket, and see the world clearly, because nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. And when we can recognize that love, we are seeing the world clearly. The first paragraph of lesson 69 is so incredibly beautiful. What Jesus writes is, he writes, "No one can look upon what your grievances conceal, because your grievances are hiding the light of the world in you. Everyone stands in darkness, and you beside him. But as the veil of your grievances is lifted, you are released with him. Share your salvation now with him who stood beside you when you were in hell. He is your brother in the light of the world that saves you both." So when I am focusing upon my grievances, when I am feeling victimized by the world, I have basically given my allegiance to the ego. I'm blocking God's love. I'm hiding the light of the world in me. But when I can release my grievances, when I can forgive my brother, the veil is lifted, and I am able to feel the truth in my own heart. And that is a very beautiful feeling to embody, a very beautiful character trait to own. Just releasing my grievances, focusing on the beauty and the innocence in my brother. It's a very peaceful place to reside in, right, Myrna?
Yes, and I love that you use that example again, with that woman that found it offensive you were filing your nails. I was thinking, if I was sitting next to someone on the plane who was filing their nails, I would automatically say, "Oh, your nails look so pretty. What color nail polish is that?" Or, I mean, that would really be within me to say that. And I find that, I'm very quick to compliment people, strangers. I really am. And I find that the more I do that, the more it comes back to me. It's almost like a mirror, So, I think when we show our brother that kind of love, we're really loving ourselves that much more. And you have to kind of look at this woman who found this, that she had to say something to you in not even a pleasant way, would indicate how much pain she has to be in. And I think the Course in Miracles wants us to recognize that, that that we have to understand that that separation between ourselves and others really, is an illusion, because when you can look into the person or the individual, that's a surface quality. The fact that she kind of brought on that statement really in an attacking way would show that that's not really who she is. So if you can see her that way, see that that's not really who she is, and that it's just really the illusion is what we're seeing. That's the surface quality. I think then it's easier to release the grievance, and then we can choose forgiveness, and we can recognize our shared innocence and unity, and it allows healing to occur, not only in our own relationships, but also, within our mind as well, not only in the relationship, but in our mind. And, it's the ego's belief that we're distinct and that we're disconnected from everyone else, but we're not. It's an error. And I think that error just overlooks the shared spiritual identity that we all have to see if we choose to see it. And that's really the root of it, is just oneness, that we're all one, and that we all possess the same loving qualities. Not everybody can show it. I'm happy. I really am so happy that I've come to the point in my life that I can show it, that I can uh, show it outwardly. And I want people to see it. I want them to see the sunshine within me. I realize that. And the more I see it, the more I bring that to the truth, and understanding the truth of what it really is. And, it dissolves the barriers that the ego just constantly is constructing, I think. Right, Susan?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You know, I was out for dinner on Sunday night with a friend of mine. She got up for a couple minutes to use the restroom. And at the edge of the table in front of me, there was like this little 2-year-old little boy, and he was just so cute. He had these big, chunky cheeks, and he had a big smile on his face. And I started looking over at him and waving. And finally, he started to wave back. And then actually the next time my friend got up to get something out of her car, I ended up playing peekaboo with this little boy. His parents couldn't see me. But he was sitting at the edge of the circular table, and he started playing peekaboo back, covering his eyes and just like I was doing. But it was so cute. And I think that really what is so adorable about little children is they have no defenses. They haven't learned that yet. So they're just so open, and they're so innocent, and they like to play. And I really think that's what Jesus is teaching us to do through A Course in Miracles. Be as little children. Obviously, when you grow up, you have more intelligence than a child does. So I think intelligence can be beneficial, but to keep that innocence as a child does is a very beautiful, heartwarming way to live life, and to realize, just as a child does, that we can't do it on our own. We need the support and the guidance of a higher power. So to surrender our will with a small w to his will with a capital W, to realize our complete dependence upon God, is such a beautiful way to live. This little boy, I mean, all he wants to do is he wants to play, and He really he really enjoys a good game of peekaboo, right? But it's just such a beautiful way to live. I mean, I don't think he feels guilty for anything that he did yesterday. I don't think children hang on to guilt of any kind, and he sees me as a fun playmate. I mean, imagine going through life and every time we encounter someone else just to see them as a fun playmate. I mean, that would be a really enjoyable, wonderful way to live life. I mean, there is a line in a Course in Miracles that encourages us to become as little children and recognize our complete dependence upon God and, just let go. Let go of our need to control events. Let go of our need to be right. Let go of our need to defend our position and just love. Again, the truth is so simple. All we need to do is love. And that's all that little boy at the table was doing. He was just seeing me and laughing. That's why there's a lot of enlightened masters that go on stage. I numerous times I've spoken about a inspirational seminar that I attended in Florida by an enlightened master. And I was expecting at the beginning of the seminar for this great guru to give me a lot of valuable instructions on how to attain enlightenment. And all he did was laugh and throw candy out to the audience, because when you really connect to source energy, when you align your mind with Christ consciousness, I mean, no words can express the connection with God. All we want to do is extend love, maybe throw out candy and laugh. The separation occurred when the Son of God remembered not to laugh. When we stopped laughing, we started suffering. We don't need to stop laughing. We just need to allow God to work through us, to speak through us, to live through us. And when we can connect to Christ consciousness, when we can plug ourselves into the God socket, there's, all we want to do is just have fun, right, Myrna?
Absolutely. I like the example that you used about the little boy, because the same thing happened to me. Here's a picture of my little boy. I don't even know this little boy, but I had seen him at the dog park, and he was on the other side of the fence. This is when I had Rusty, my dog. Can you see that? You see that
Yes,
picture?
very
Yeah.
cute. Very
Okay.
cute.
I took a picture of him. I held on to it all these years, really. I never erased it. I had to dig to find it. I have a couple of those. There was a little boy who I took a picture of at the airport. He was sitting in the seat in front of me, and that little face was over the seat looking at me, smiling. And I asked his mother if I could take a picture of him. She said, yeah. Which, and I did. I had another picture like that reminded me that, yeah, the Course says you'd be like little children, because, what you see in their faces, the picture I just showed you, look at the innocence in that little child, I mean, pure innocence, because they haven't developed the qualities that we as adults have accumulated over the years, the ego that plays on our thoughts and our reactions, and the innocence and the openness that children have, the trust that they have, and the willingness to learn. They like to learn and do new things, and so if we can really adopt those qualities that we see in little children, then we can approach life with a pure and receptive mind, because their minds are so pure. They haven't been absconded yet with all kinds of debris, just as it does, that happens through the years if we don't really nurture our thoughts. And it's I think if a parent can understand this quality early in life of their children's lives, they can really create so much good by teaching them that that their own innocence is really something to maintain and to extend to others. And if we can do that, we undo the belief in separation. And then, that it's so much easier to heal whatever thoughts we have that, that unforgiveness brings to the mind. So this state of innocence, I think, really allows us to see ourselves and others as little children without judgment. And it's a wonderful way to recognize that children can teach us so much, right, Susan?
Right, right. There was this sign in Planet Fitness Gym yesterday that I took a picture of, and I actually posted it on social media along with Course in Miracles. The sign said, "Welcome to the judgment-free zone." And that is what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do. Just as you stated, A Course in Miracles is teaching us to release judgment, because as we judge our brother, we feel judged ourselves. I mean, what are the consequences for judging our brother? God doesn't judge us because God is incapable of judgment or condemnation of any kind. God is just an entity of unconditional love. God doesn't have to forgive us because God has never condemned us. God has never judged us. But what happens is when we go into ego territory and we start judging our brother, we feel our own judgment cast upon ourselves. Like it just doesn't feel good because we step into the terrain of the ego. So the only way to feel the truth of who we are is to release judgment completely. This is what many traditional religions don't understand. Many traditional religions teach that God judges us when we make mistakes. A Course in Miracles tells us that God never judges us, that God is incapable of judgment of any kind. So when our thoughts are aligned with God's, we are incapable of judgment also. There's numerous stories of times when my mind is aligned with Christ consciousness. And when my brother does something under normal circumstances, I might judge him for. But because I am in a highly elevated frequency, because my minds are aligned with Christ consciousness, I don't judge him because when we're actually in Christ consciousness, we're incapable of judging our brother because when our minds are connected to the truth of who we are, we cannot judge our brother because judgment has nothing to do with love. Judgment has nothing to do with God. So A Course in Miracles is teaching us to release judgment because judgment is based on fear. Right, Myrna?
Totally. Totally. Yes. We nurture that fear when we're judging. And why would we want to do that? Why would we want to nurture anything within ourselves that creates pain and keeps us from recognizing who we truly are, the products that we are a product of God. That's all we are. We're created as God created us, and when we can see that and see not and don't look for anything to obscure that belief, then we can then nurture the peace that we're beginning to understand, that we can feel. I mean, we all want to move away from pain, and what's the opposite of pain? Love. So we can only be in two places, pain or love, or fear and love. Then why not choose love? Right, Susan?
Right, right. So on that note, it is 2:31. Our time has come to an end. Thank you for being here with me today. Myrna, I love you. And thank you everyone for being in the room. Steve, Sora, Lynn, Deb was here. So as A Course in Miracles says, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The only thing that's real is the love. Thank you. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn.
Thank you guys so much. So